Hello and welcome to Rolling with Two. I'm Will, and with me as always is the chip off the old block herself,
Sarah.
And today we're doing a two-player perspective and accessibility for Cubitos. Sarah, tell us a bit about this game.
All right. In Cubitos, players take on the role of participants in the annual Cube Cup, a race of strategy and luck to determine the Cubitos champion. Each player has a runner on the racetrack and a support team, which is represented by all the dice you roll. Each turn you roll dice and use the results to move along the racetrack, buy new dice, and use the abilities. But you must be careful not to push your luck rolling too much, or you could bust. All right, well, so how do the rules change for two players?
There is no changes for a two-player game. There is no bot.
All right.
So it's just the racers.
Yes.
I don't think we checked if it was could have solo play.
No, did not check if this has solo play.
Yeah.
So don't know. We could not think of any issues at the two-player count. So what it probably does well over higher player counts is the fact that since the dice pools are limited and you don't change them for player count, at a two-player count, you're going to be more likely to get the dice you want.
Yeah, there's 8 different colored dice. So there's like some blue ones, some orange ones, some yellow ones.
Yeah.
And each one has 10 copies of that die.
Right.
So, yeah, as Sarah was saying, in a 4-player game, if more people are buying a particular color, that's going to spread it thinner for that type of strategy.
Right. So, yeah, that might be one small, I guess, pro at the two-player count, con at the higher player count.
Race how you like with 2 players.
Yes. All right, accessibility. So there are a few challenges here. The cards that explain what the dice do, and there's multiple versions of it. So like there's, I don't know, like 6 or 7 different cards for each die color. So you choose that at setup. The text on these cards is small, and the reason that's a problem is this is a, what do you call it, a shared reference card for everybody at the table.
It's so how everyone knows how the red die works.
Right.
It's just out there and with its rules. So everybody will have to know what it is, but you can't just see it in the middle of the table.
No, it is not very visible from a distance. So you're going to be picking up these cards a lot, probably passing them around when you have more players at the table. The good news is, though, as you play the game, you will, well, learn what they do. And if you do play with the same cards in multiple games, then you'll start learning what they do. So it's more of a learning curve issue, that it's just maybe those cards, especially considering the box, that there's plenty of room in the box. They could have made those jumbo size cards, and that probably would have gone over better. Then also on the small size, the dice are small. And that just boggles my mind considering how giant the dice boxes are compared to them.
I think that has a lot to do with how much it would have cost.
True.
Because there is a lot of dice in this game.
There are a lot of dice.
I mean, you're talking about 80 dice, and that's just with the colors and not including the grays.
That's true.
So if you made it larger, that also increases the cost exponentially.
Right.
And then you're looking at a game that will probably end up costing $100.
True. I don't usually complain about dice being small, because I usually complain about dice being too big because I have small hands. So small dice are generally better. I don't know. I feel like these don't roll as well being smaller, but maybe that's just me. The dice just hate me.
I think it's because the probability on a lot of these dice can show up as blanks.
Yeah.
In fact, like the dinosaur die, it only has one side that even has a symbol. The other 5 sides are blank. Probably because of how much you see blanks, you think that just keeps rolling face up, even though it could be different sides.
I don't know which blank side it is. Blank side 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right.
Good point. But just want to note that they are small. Just in case you have some mobility issues picking up small things, that might be a challenge.
Yeah.
But you do.
It's super fun to roll, though.
It is fun because you do handle a lot of dice, which again could be a mobility challenge. But maybe handling more of them, I don't know. It's just something to
make you aware of.
Right, because you're going to be constantly picking up these dice, rolling them, moving them around. So there's just constant movement with these small dice. So again, if you have any mobility issues with your hands, that's something to consider here. We talked about the dice boxes. They are very difficult to open, and considering they're used sort of they're used during the game to be dice trays, not trays that you roll in, but
Yeah, one side is a flap, as you would expect for a normal box. You throw all your dice in. When you're using them in the game, you pull the dice out, turn the box over, and the underside of the box is now a tray that you pour them in. It's a cute design because it's all very cube shaped, but that flap it really can get stuck.
Yeah.
So there are a number of replacements that are out there, the 3D printed. In fact, Board Game Geek has
just recently, as of the recording of this video, Board Game Geek has their geeked up bit boxes. They look really nice. We haven't had a chance to get them yet, but we probably will. We'll see. But they do look like really good replacements because they're made out of plastic, so they're not going to wear down like, well, cardboard will, because it's like a tuck box for cards, just as a tuck box.
I think they also have like a little clip to hold the cards up right too.
Yeah, that is the other nice thing about the geeked up bits, and I think a couple of the 3D printed ones have the same thing, where the lid or whatever pops open can hold up the card. That might make it easier to see, depending on whether you can orient it towards everybody at the table.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that's a bit of a challenge is cognitively, the rules on how you bust are not very well described.
We reread it like 4 or 5 times until we finally guessed, and it just, that kind of made sense.
Yeah.
So let's just explain it right here.
Okay.
When you roll your dice, you will move any dice that has a symbol to your active pool.
Yes.
All right. Then you have a choice of re-rolling any dice that didn't show a symbol. However, if what's in your active symbol, there's 3 or more dice, and you roll and still get blanks, then you bust. If there are 3 or more symbols and you roll and symbols pop up, well, you don't bust. You keep moving them over. If you have less than 3 dice in your active pool, you can re-roll. No chance of busting, even if nothing pops up.
For some reason, it just really wasn't explained well. You are safe up to 3 dice, and after that, you are pushing your luck, well, to keep going.
The idea is that you will always have 3 symbols to count on.
To work with for the
game.
Yeah, the next phase, whatever the next phase is called.
Yes.
All right. So what this does well, accessibility. Even though the card text might be small, it does have good contrast with the background, and it's good font. So it's that part of the readability is good. Just the fact that it's small and you have to see it from the middle. Icons are all different on each of the dice. So if you're having trouble with the different dice colors, you can always tell them apart by their dice symbols. Each one will have a unique symbol, like the cat one has a cat head. Now, there are some repeating symbols, such as a foot for movement, but you can just look at the other sides of the dice because there will always be a unique one that represents that. I don't want to call it an animal because they're not all animals. One's pineapple.
One's cheese?
Yeah, so character?
Yes, the character.
So there's a character face, head, symbol, whatever, on that die, and that symbol is only on that die. So if you are having trouble with any of the color between dice, those will be your unique identifiers.
Yes. And I liked, when it came to the dice, there you could actually feel symbols.
Yes.
So one thing that actually helps this game move along is if everybody's rolling their dice at the same time. I was actually able to do a lot of that rolling on my own because I could then just feel the dice faces, move all the blanks to one side, move all the symbols to the active pile. And then in between all that rolls is when I asked you, what did I roll?
Yeah, that definitely made it much more accessible for us to keep the game flow going because, again, it's a race game. You don't want it to take 3 hours. That's not fun.
Yeah.
So that's good that you can also feel that if you do have more severe vision issues. It's all open information, which is also how that worked, is he'd pull aside, okay, here's all the sides that have faces, what are they? And I tell him, and then he'd have the informed decision of, do I roll my dice again type of thing.
Yeah.
Now, as much as how you bust was not clear, the round structure and what you do in each phase is very clear. In fact, you have a player aid tile that it's double-sided, and so there's the first phase and it goes step by step through it, and when you're done you flip it over, which is also an indicator to everybody else at the table that you're done. And again, because that phase has or should be done simultaneously.
Yeah.
And then on that flip side, it shows what you do during that phase. I can't remember. I know the second phase is the run phase.
Yeah.
Can't remember what the first phase is
roll
called.
phase.
It's, okay, roll and run phase.
Yes.
So, yes.
Roll is where you choose the dice that you're going to be rolling.
Right.
Rolling them, separating them out, choosing whether or not you're continuing to go,
Yeah.
busting or stopping.
And the player pieces are uniquely shaped. I would say they're not the best but they are minorly different, like little paw sticking out this way or an ear sticking out that way. So they tried to keep the cube theme going.
Yeah, they made sure that the aesthetic of the game is cubes.
Yes.
So everything starts looking like a cube, and then it's only slight
Differences from there.
extrusions.
Right. The good news is, if you're having trouble with any of the colors and those, if the physical differences aren't good enough, there is one side that has a printing on it that identifies that animal, like there's an elephant and a lion and so on. That will also help. So there's, as cube-like as they all are, there should be enough differences that you can tell your runner
from
everybody else's. Also, the other player pieces or resources are uniquely shaped. There's credits, there's 1s and 5s, and those are different sizes. And then there's the draw, which is the purple hand. So they did do a good job making things as uniquely shaped as possible.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's everything. So conclusion.
For 2 players, would you recommend?
I do. I really enjoyed this, and I would be worried at a higher player count of getting frustrated by not being able to get all the dice that I want. But it would also force me to try different strategies. So there's that. But I still really appreciate it at the 2-player count.
Yes, I totally agree. I really like the very thoughtful race mechanic that they've built in. And it just works really good at a 2-player.
You're right. And it's not your head-to-head in terms of trying to stop each other. It's not like it's completely multiplayer solitaire, but you don't block other people. Where you trip up is not because of other players, but because of yourself. And that is very unusual in a race game.
Yeah, you pushed it too hard, or you made bad choices on the map, or whatever.
Or bad choices in buying dice.
Yeah, that can happen.
Yep.
Accessibility.
I would say yes, unless you have some mobility issues with your hands. This is going to require a lot of use of your hands through the whole game. And that's just it.
Yeah, front and back, this is a dice chucker. So make sure that you're ready for a lot of die manipulation, because that's the name of the game here.
Yep. Cubitos, you are rolling cubes.
Yes. All right, well, that will do it for us. And Sarah,
yes,
when it comes to this world of Cubitos, would you like to see more of it other than this cube race?
Oh, that would be interesting. I would like to, you could always take any world and turn it into a town builder. I always love town builders. And you could see how cube-like their houses are and their towns.
And you could call it Built Around the Block.
Oh, I like that. Yes. What about you?
Yeah, when they started introducing this, I'm like, oh, okay, that's just cheesy. And then getting into the game, it's like, you know what? I want to see more of this world.
It's different.
Yes.
It's a fun difference.
Yes, and it works well with the nostalgia of previous games where a lot of times all we had were cubes.
That's true.
So it's an easy one to start and then build off of.
Do resource management. That's all about the cubes.
Yes. Well, that'll do it for us. And why would you ever roll with just one when you could be
rolling with 2?
And remember, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach out to us on the various social media platforms at
Rolling with 2. That's TWO. We are on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And on YouTube, please like and subscribe.
And if you have time, check out the other content Nanaman has found for you, because remember, he's rolling with you.